opportunity to explain the decision of the Constitutional Court pertaining to the grievances brought forward to the court by the Ombudsman regarding the Integrity Chamber. It is very, very important for the public to understand the reason why I took this ordinance to the Constitutional Court. As we know, by law, by the Constitution, first of all, the Ombudsman is the protector of the rights of the people. Secondly, the Ombudsman is the guardian of the Constitution. And as guardian of the Constitution, it is my duty to protect the rights of the people against infringements that a law may make on the rights of the people. Because even the law, government, is held to the Constitution. As such, when we refute that ordinance on the Integrity Chamber, while the Ombudsman is completely pro-integrity checks and balances, it is my duty to make sure that such an important law doesn't go against itself and infringe on the rights of the people. Now, having studied the law thoroughly, I realized that the rights of the people, not only those that are being investigated, but also those that would be witnesses in an investigation of one of our public authorities, that the rights of those are not properly protected. Why I say that? One of the very important issues in that law was that everybody that was being interrogated was obligated to cooperate with the Integrity Chamber in giving information. Not giving certain information, which is of course very important, and was punishable, probably with a fine or even imprisonment. However, when we looked at the fact that a breach of integrity can be a criminal offense for which our criminal procedural code provide protection according to the Constitution, next to a criminal investigation, an integrity chamber had almost similar powers as the prosecutor to do certain investigations without the person being investigated or other persons being interrogated having the rights as stipulated in the criminal code, the criminal procedural code. And that is not possible. You had two systems, an administrative system and a criminal system, then walking side by side, while the criminal code protects the criminal as well as others against infringements on basic rights such as the right to privacy and the right to a fair trial. The administrative procedure was not covered with protection of the rights of the people. God forbids that in a situation where the Integrity Chamber wanted to investigate, for example, a politician or a high official with public authority, that to get the information, they would knock on your door because they think that you know something or they want to check your cell phone for conversations, that you had no recourse to say no. If you say no, that you could be getting a fine or even imprisonment. If the prosecutor wants to investigate, there are rules that the judge have to be involved or whatever. So that is the reason why the Ombudsman took the ordinance to the Constitutional Court. I, in total, presented almost 60 pages of arguments to show that the rights of the people of St. Martin were not properly protected. And yes, the Constitutional Court agreed with me as ombudsman and squashed the law, mainly because I presented that if Parliament and government wanted to amend the law, that they agreed with the Netherlands that it will be introduced as is with that amendment, it should have gone back to the Council of Advice because the changes were having too big an impact on the society. This is the reason why the Ombudsman took the National Ordinance on the Integrity Chamber to the Constitutional Court, not because we do not want the investigations. However, it is important that the rights of the people, all the people of St. Martin, are properly protected.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEB.
Life is a journey, full of connections. You're in safe hands, even when life starts too soon. You don't have to miss a single beat. When a bad hair day makes you sad, just sharing can bring you joy and more to come. They take the plunge, turn fear into faith, while you capture those beautiful moments. In the game of life, it's family that counts. They'll be there even when you lose. We all have our moments of reflection and hope. And when you feel you're losing everything in life, we're there because there's more to come. When life starts too soon, you don't have to miss a single beat. We're here to connect you and share life. Telcel, when you want more.
Building a new hospital for St. Martin, I think, has reached another important milestone. And this is in line with our goal of providing, as Ministry of VSA, we are working towards providing a high-quality medical system that is affordable, and easily accessible for the people. And this begins with having a high-quality, large hospital for the country. So this week, on Monday, July 18th at 2 p.m., we received bids for the development and construction of a new hospital for St. Martin. I would like to offer thanks to all of the people who've put in so much effort up till this point, specifically the SZV, SMMC, VSA, of course, the ministry itself, as well as Royal Haskoning, who's been contracted as an engineering consultant in the process, and KPMG, who's our project leader for the process to date. So this process began with, as we developed the terms of reference, there were 12 companies that expressed interest in participating in the construction of the new hospital. And this construction includes not only the actual building, but also includes the architecture, the engineering, the design of the facility, as well as the construction, but also the maintenance beyond it. And we think that that's an important part, because what that means is whoever actually constructs the hospital, they're the ones who will have to maintain it afterwards. And so therefore, if they go, if the quality isn't up to standards in the end, they're going to have the additional expense to maintain it. So we believe that that entire process makes sense. So as I mentioned, 12 parties expressed interest, and through a pre-selection process that was narrowed down to 5 bidders who were invited to, in the end, to bid for the hospital. And by 2 p.m. on Monday, there were 3 bids that were received. And those companies are Baum Phillips in partnership, VAMED, and a company, INSO. The final evaluations will be hopefully completed by the end of August, according to our timeline. And I'd like to just make a brief note as to why we opened these at the notary. So there were 3 copies delivered and 1 original set delivered to the notary. So the notary was responsible for, 1, verifying that all of the submissions were done according to what was required by the terms of reference. So in other words, verifying that everything was actually received in a timely manner, so there could be no discrepancies about who submitted on time. And what we're doing is we're leaving the original copy in the hands of the notary. So what it means is that if there's any discussions in the future that somehow documents were tampered with, there is an original copy that remains in the hands of the notary, and that is actually the copy that remains legally valid. So if there's ever any sort of discrepancy, we will return to the original copies that have been left at the notary. So I can't think of more that we could do to make the process more open, more transparent than we have done. So again, I'm very optimistic about the process. I'm confident that we are on the right track to delivering the people of St. Martin a high-quality, affordable hospital on fairly short notice.
Oh my, what an inventory list, and so unnecessary. But wait, your home contents are all insured by Be Sure. That means that you determine the amount you want to insure. No inventory list, no hassle.
Are you Be Sure? Be Sure.
Bob, I can understand why you're parking so carefully. Of course, when you can get 80% discount on your Be Sure car insurance. But that's overdoing it, Bob.
Are you Be Sure? Be Sure.
Yeah!
Here we go.
This is freedom, this is life. Happiness is all I'm seeking. Carpe diem, I'm
poured what you crave, life just gets so
So
good.
alive and I'm feeling good, so good, so good, so good. Hey, I'm gonna live my life, feeling good, so good, real good, so
KFC, so good for everyone.
These are the doors that never close. These are the hands that make a difference. These are the walls that could tell countless stories of helping and healing, of storms weathered, of change and growth, of a place where life begins, where hearts are mended, and where hope grows stronger. For more than a quarter of a century, the physicians, medical professionals, and staff of St. Martin Medical Center have combined advanced medical technology and compassionate care to bring a world of medicine to our friends, neighbors, and visitors to the island of St. Martin we all call home. As proud as we are of what we have accomplished, we believe there is still much work to do to continue a proud tradition of providing everyone in our community with the latest technology, the best medicine, and the most exceptional care. St. Martin Medical Center, celebrating 25 years of serving, caring, healing.
But I have one question for the panelists and trying to tie into St. Martin, and the question is, would you say that colorism has a stronger grip on St. Martin than outright racism, and that it hampers most dialogue on moving the country forward? That's open to anybody.
And in talking about Black Lives Matter in the diaspora, I think we have to bring it home, because some people say, but it's an American issue. Why are we so caught up in it? It's an American issue, it's an American issue. And then for me, like right away, I think about the whole discussion of the Zwarte Piet in the Netherlands and why it's a kingdom matter. Because indeed, there was so much video on Facebook, on YouTube, where these guys were getting beat up. There was like a lady dragged from a sidewalk, and the police was handcuffing her and going with her, and it was very aggressive. And everyone was saying underneath it, well, a lot of European Dutch people were saying, yeah, but you have to learn to respect the police, and you have to learn to do this, and you have to learn to do that. And it's almost as if, we all think that if you approach the police in these situations in a certain way, that they're going to treat you respectfully. But in most cases, all of these people were being respectful. The lady, when she was protesting, was on the sidewalk. She was yelling out, like down with Zwarte Piet or whatever in Dutch, whatever, and the police thought it was offensive, that she shouldn't be doing that when there was a Zwarte Piet parade. But for me, I think it's important that we ask ourselves why, as the Dutch Caribbean, so to speak, we weren't more incensed by what was happening with the whole Zwarte Piet debate, and why, the Black Lives Matter movement resonates so much more with us, because indeed, okay, Puerto Rico is an American state, so maybe that's why they're actually having walks and conversations and discussions. But here on St. Martin, I don't hear the conversations about Zwarte Piet. And for me, as a Black person, that's also, very hurtful and very disrespectful that this thing is allowed to happen. And in fact, there are people who are proponents of it. And of course, it's not the same aggression that is happening that spawned the Black Lives Movement. People are not dying. But are we not, is something not happening to us mentally when we're saying that this thing, which is such a violation of who we are really, is allowed to continue, and we're not standing up and saying, no, enough is enough. So I just wanted to say that and bring it home to St. Martin. But in regards to your question, I think it's two different things. I think, as you said, you asked about classism or colorism. Colorism. I think colorism is the internal conversation that we as Black people have to have indeed, in how we talk about darker skinned Black people as compared to lighter skinned Black people, etc., etc. But the racism problem is still something that we need to talk about, because I come from an island not too far from here, 5 square miles, where I had a grandmother who used to keep trying to get me to call white people uncle, and they were not my uncle. And this was not something that she did with other Black people, you know what I mean? And the same happened, like, to me here on St. Martin in certain regards. We look at white people and perhaps European white people in a different way than we look at black people sometimes. So I don't think that it's a either or question, but a both and question. So how do we deal with both colorism and racism on St. Martin?
Different to what's going on in the US. And as somebody who's lived here and in the US and in Holland and in Italy, I experienced racism on 4 completely different levels. There's more of a cultural segregation when it comes to race. And here, everybody's guilty of it. And our government is black. Our law enforcement is black. So we don't have the same kind of issues that you have in the States where white law enforcement officers are disproportionately exuding way too much violence and aggression against a minority group disproportionately. 2.5 times, I think, a black person is likely to get killed over anybody else. So when it comes to how we deal with race here, we do have to have these discussions, but I think what helps is, even though it's all under the umbrella of race and racial issues and racial oppression, these are all separate issues. So the issue with Black Lives Matter and the issue with these cops killing a lot of people, over 1,000 people last year. I think it was like 1,185 people were killed by the hands of cops, and under 8% of those cops were actually prosecuted. So over 90% of these individuals who are killing people unprovoked, regardless of race, it's not being handled and there's no accountability being taken for it. And I think we dilute that one issue by relying too much of this umbrella of racial segregation. For me, what I'd love to see is for the law enforcement in the United States to take bloody responsibility, to stop giving these guys paid administrative leave when they kill somebody, for them to admit that there is a problem where they disproportionately act violent towards these men. Again, with the Philando Castile, you heard the tapes of the officer saying, I'm gonna pull him over. He looks like the bank robber. I'm just gonna say that because of his wide set nose. That's on tape. He said this, you can look this up online. And this was the officer that killed him. He pulled him over because he had a wide set nose. You know who else has a wide set nose? About every other black man on the planet. You could have used a more distinctive physical trait to adjust to, but basically he was saying, you know what, that guy's black, he might have robbed a bank. That's essentially what he was saying. And that problem right there needs to be addressed by law enforcement, but there's not enough people within the blue groups speaking out about this and talking about ways that they're going to take accountability for this problem. That's what pisses me off about that situation. And over here, when it comes to St. Martin, I think we do have major racial issues, but they have to be discussed about in a different way and handled in a different way because they're not identical to what's going on in the US.
It's been said that behind every door, possibility awaits. How much possibility depends on which door you open first. Every day, we help our customers discover the possibilities in their lives. It all starts with a conversation. Scotiabank. Discover what's possible.
Revenue would have picked up. Can you say now definitively that indeed that the amounts are better? Revenues?
Yes, I can say that. I think we had addressed this before. The first 3 months showed an alarming reduction in collection of revenue. That recuperated in the next quarter. I also mentioned that we also spent less than we had projected, and that the net result at the end of the second quarter was that we were more or less exactly on target in terms of the budget. What the situation is going to be in the third quarter, the jury is still out. But I have no reason to believe that the same trend will continue, and that we will also be on target. But that's a guess that I'm making it now. I have no reason to believe that it will not be.